Hello and welcome to another episode of Typo Exposure. My name is Afifa Bari. I'll be your host. All right, so Jeremy, would you like to introduce yourself?
All right. Well, my name is Jeremy. I am a photographer here in Toronto. I started photography about 5 years ago, and I started off just doing portraits. But now I do product portraits, and I'm currently in school for graphic design to expand my business to branding overall.
When did you get into photography?
When did I get into photography?
When did you start?
Oh, when did I start? Well, I started second last year of high school, and I believe it was after I joined a media arts class, and I didn't know that I would like photography. It kind of just looked like another art course, which I'd be interested in. And then as soon as I started playing with cameras, the ISO, the shutter speed, and like the whole creative process of it, like ended up, I guess, in a way, like falling in love with the craft. Yeah, before that, like I was really into drawing, painting, but then I realized that photography really clicked, and eventually developed a lot of relationships, friendships, um, and realized that I can help people with photography.
What inspired you to go into, I guess, media arts, photography? I guess pursue it professionally.
Well, there's no doubt that um, any artist in the industry looks at an artistic job and says, like, this can actually get me money. And that is one of the factors for sure. But at the same time, it was something that I really enjoyed. It was a process that I enjoyed, and like there were results that I enjoyed seeing as well, like working for streetwear brands, seeing it published on their site and Etsy, being able to work with other creatives and just bounce creative ideas off of each other. What enticed me to photography was the idea that I could create a concept and make it happen through a camera.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what's your process as a photographer? I guess your creative process. How do you begin?
I think starting a concept depends if I'm working with someone or if I'm doing it on my own. If I'm working with someone, then I would ask them what they would want. But I guess like working alone and like I have a project that will go up soon, and it was for myself, and it's for second generation Filipinos
Mhm.
who have a hard time identifying as Filipino because of that, I guess, boundary that has been set in Philippine American culture. And I guess it started with definitely the idea, like the idea that I want to do something and create something around that. But that idea originated from, I guess, like personal experience, and it's something that I guess meant a lot to me as well.
So is this like a personal project you're working on?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but beforehand, I did get a lot of help. I did seek a lot of, I guess, advice from peers that really helped craft the idea and refine it a lot more.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I guess starting off, like it would be a lot of consulting people that are in my inner circle who I know that can help me develop an idea. I think that's really important, especially for artists, to have that circle,
Hmm.
a circle which can like help them develop ideas, but also support them as an artist. And yeah, for photographers, like I guess starting out, like it seemed really, I guess, cutthroat in a way where it was like, okay, like I'm a photographer, you're a photographer, we're competing against each other. Like we need to see who can make the better photo, whatever. Or that's at least what was my mindset before. But I realize now that I'm getting closer and closer into the commercial industry of photography. I realize that it's a lot of helping each other. It's a lot of helping each other to keep the industry going.
Are you more of a freelance photographer, or are you kind of like working with more businesses?
Thing is, I'm a little bit of both. Like I do have clients which are returning clients, so it's kind of like working for a business. But at the same time, I have freelance where maybe like recently actually a friend is asking me to do an engagement shoot, so that's exciting. And yeah, like that, like I get to do a little bit of both. I guess like just to like help out different like people in my
Mm,
life. I guess like where it's like the more commercial, whether it's there's a business, they have structure, or they need photographic structure, and then there's like a friend saying like, "Hey, I need photos," and it's like, "All right, like here are my rates." Yeah, yeah, I do both. Yeah, for sure.
in your freelance work, do you, I guess, work with models, or I guess in commercial, or is it more like people you're familiar with and people you know?
It's kind of a mix, really. Sometimes I'd be working with a business and they ask like, "Hey, do you know any models?" And then I would bring someone that I used to know from the dance industry, and help them out in that way and get them exposure because they're interested in building a portfolio and modeling. So yeah, like again, like it's like kind of like helping each other out kind of thing in the industry. But sorry, the question was, do I know models?
Do you
Or
work with models more,
do
or
I
like
work with?
people you're familiar with?
Yeah, most of the time I do work with models, but usually I have worked with them before, or I know someone that has worked with them, and they have, I guess, like a good report within my circle. I do look toward outsourcing and going to agencies and working with models. That I haven't done so much just yet, because I guess I haven't been getting like a client which requires that. Usually, it's kind of more a little bit like more budget friendly, where the client gets their friends and they're like, "Hey, can you model for my brand?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." Um, so yeah, there hasn't been really much like outsourcing of models.
What's been your biggest struggle, I guess, working with models? I know that the modeling industry has its flaws. In
Mm,
terms of body image, eating disorders, that kind of thing. Insecurities that affect not only the model themselves, but the consumers, people who see edited and Photoshop pictures of them. What's been your struggle
mm,
in dealing with that, or have you
mm.
struggled with that at all?
I'm trying to think of if there's any specific scenarios that I've dealt with. I guess it's not necessarily in like the line of like the topic of work photography, but it's more so I guess like photography meetups. Like there's kind of like it's known that there's some Toronto photography meetups where there's some guy that comes and the female model feels really uncomfortable and like yeah, like, I guess I've seen that firsthand. Like one way of that I've suggested to another photographer is collaborating and then handpicking the people that we bring to collaborate. But yeah, there was that incident. This isn't something that I've dealt with personally, but it was a video that I saw that it was a guy telling the model to eat less for next shoot, and like that's heartbreaking to
It's
see that
problematic. Yeah,
it is definitely problematic for sure. And like the model went off on this guy, like she definitely wasn't having it. She's like, I'm done shooting. Like she literally just left because of the unprofessional treatment that she received.
not that the modeling industry is known for like telling their models straight up. You have to wait a certain way. You have to look a certain
Mm-hmm.
way. Your hair has to be done a certain way. There's always something wrong with you. They're always pointing out flaws. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Even though you might not have noticed those flaws before, or they may not be flaws to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But since someone else in authority is pointing them out to you, this suddenly become a sense of insecurity that they created now that you're constantly like thinking about. And before that thing wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I guess like yeah, following the topic of insecurities, I feel like in a way like I'm a little bit on the fence when it comes to retouching, just because there is a goal like behind retouching where you do want to create like a perfect image. You do want to like maybe retouch blemishes because it'll make the client feel insecure if it's there, or if it's for like, for example, like a creative audition, and like they've been really stressed lately, so like you have to retouch their face. I think that is okay, because it does a service to them and it's consented. But in the context where it's like heavy Photoshop, um, where the bodies are being morphed through liquify on Photoshop. Yeah, like I personally don't agree with that. Like I feel like that is like distorting the natural look of a person. And there is a thing in photography um, where that can be avoided instead of just photoshopping the person. What one can do is just source someone who looks the way that you want for what they're creating. Um, and I guess like that has its own things to debate on as well. Like why are people sourcing certain looks other rather than others? Um, but I guess like to answer that question, like it's dependent on what I said earlier. Like it's dependent on what they're creating. Like if it's for like a clothing brand where they want to be inclusive to everybody, then they're going to have a more inclusive, I guess, like model casting. But if it's for like a certain look, like for example, if it's a Japanese brand and they only want to source Japanese models, then I guess like that's understandable as well. But yeah, like it's a very subjective industry. It's very like what do we want to create and how are we going to create it? And I guess the lines of how do we want to create it can be blurred with is it ethical to create this?
What ethics, I guess, do you follow as a photographer in order to make the model feel comfortable?
Hmm. That's a good question. I think for sure, just overall respect. Definitely not saying things out of hand, like about models' weight or whatnot. Definitely just treating them like a person. And like I guess for like being like a male photographer, it's a lot easier to be creepy, especially unintentionally. Not that I have been, but it's something that I'm very wary of. Like for example, like if there is, yeah, this is a precaution that I take. Like for example, like if there is like a strap loose, or even if their shoelaces untied, like I would ask like if I can tie their shoes, or if I can adjust like a bit of the shirt. And usually the models are like, I don't think I've had a model who's not okay with it thus far, because like it's basically what they're there for, right? They're modeling, and like can't exactly have them move too much because then it would lose the frame. So they understand that, and like that's fine. Like as long as like it's like when you move the piece of fabric, you're not in an area where it's inappropriate, if you know what I mean. But yeah, like definitely like consent is a huge thing. Making sure that the model that is there is not doing anything that they're not comfortable with. I don't shoot boudoir, but like that's definitely something that would be prevalent in that area of photography. That I see a lot of like things happening in that area. But I'm glad that I don't have to deal with that. But yeah, definitely just making them feel comfortable. Even like things like playing music. I feel like that is something that can, I guess, like bring out someone's personality, just letting them play their own music and them not feeling judged for it. I think another thing that helps people feel comfortable is like hyping them up and making them feel like they're, I guess, in a way, like if they're not necessarily like professional models, like to make them feel like they are worthy of being in front of a camera, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah, okay.
Because I mean, in magazines and basically everywhere, you see models that are like white, tall women. You know,
Mm,
they have a certain
yeah.
body type, and you're like, what if I don't fit into that? Um,
Mm.
but I guess as a photographer, do you have to deal with that a lot? Like, I mean, are you working with people of color? What's your, I guess, criteria in that sense?
I guess like my thing is that I've been sourcing a lot of people from different backgrounds. Um, Surprisingly, I actually don't have much models that I source that are from a Eurocentric background. If anything, all the models that I work with are either from the Filipino community, are in the Black community, or are allies of people of color in general.
That's good. I feel like that's needed. I know there's some more
Yeah.
inclusivity now in terms of
Mm-hmm.
modeling, but I'm glad that photographers like you, you're willing to break that, I guess, mold that's been built, the Eurocentric um, viewpoint that's been given to us, I guess, forever. I'm like, hey, there's more than one, I guess, body type. It's more than one person that has the capabilities of doing the same thing that this other person's doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
How do you make the models, I guess, feel comfortable while you're shooting with them? I know you said
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned like play music,
Mm-hmm.
but
So how do I make the model feel comfortable?
and not
Um,
insecure in their being, in their body, in their frame.
mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I think what I like to do on shoots is often, if I can, like I ask them to bring a friend who can support them. So that's one thing. It's just having someone that they know already to support them on the sidelines. To, I guess, yeah, definitely play music. To I guess like to see their personality, and also to it's not only to see their personality, but it's also to have a conversation starter. Because depending on the type of music that you listen to, it usually follows the kind of lifestyle that is kind of surrounded by it. And I noticed that like it's kind of easier to gauge like what to talk about with that person as well. And I guess like what I've been unintentionally mentioning is talking to the person. That would be another thing. One thing that I noticed that inexperienced photographers do is just shoot without talking to the model at all. No directions, no how was your day? Just shooting. Like move like this or like and then just like for like a good like 5-10 minutes just shooting. And like that's the easiest way to make someone feel uncomfortable in front of a camera. But yeah, for sure. Definitely talking to the person, giving them directions and doing it in a way where it feels like they're they're feeling something. I guess like look to the sky and pretend that there are clouds and you are and there's like morphing into different shapes and you are surprised at that. And then they would just kind of like act it out and then that would create natural expressions in which they're comfortable in making. But yeah, I guess like just definitely doing things that make it feel like that person is moving out of the ordinary and not like it's forced. Yeah, and I guess like just general care, like for like as people, like if it's out in the cold during like late fall or winter, then like, make sure that person is wearing a jacket, or if it's not part of the photo when I'm not shooting, I would have them wear the jacket until I start shooting again.
I
Okay.
noticed did a lot of shot shoot. This is last
Mm-hmm.
episode. Um,
Yeah.
how I noticed the pictures they're really interesting. They look fun. Like everyone's like having fun on set. How did
Yeah.
you, I guess, get into that? I actually asked her like, hey, can I model for you? This is so fun. Like it doesn't look like modeling. It's just people like playing around. You know, it's like candid shots
Mm-hmm.
almost, but like candid but also not candid. I love that aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Like you mean for olive branches?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. How did you? I guess clothing brands in general,
Mm-hmm.
olive branches being one. Do you work with other clothing brands as well?
Yeah. So I work with another clothing brand. They're basically a small screen printing shop, and they have their own clothing brand as well as basically doing custom shirts for people. And then there's another brand that I worked for that has their own custom shirts of like Shiba Inus, and it's like in this like really like I guess like cutesy anime style kind of. But yeah, I guess like touching on what you said about how the shoot was like really playful and it looked fun. Um, yeah, that's something which I really like doing with shoots. Like I really want it to feel like an experience. I really want it to feel like everyone in that room, I guess in a way knows each other or can feel like that they want to like know each other as like friends in a room, you know? Yeah, like one of the factors that music plays in that is that like it makes it feel like a party. Like it makes it feel like hey, we're hanging out like on a where did I shoot last time? At a parking garage and we're just vibing.
That just makes it really fun. Um,
Yeah.
I've actually noticed in the past few. This is completely off topic.
Yeah, no
The
worries.
past few, I guess, months, there has been like a rise of photographers. Especially on like
Mhm.
I guess Instagram. No, I guess mostly girls sharing stories of their experiences, negative experiences
Mm,
with photographers. And you go on their page and like they're really popular. But again, these girls they come up with horrifying stories.
mm,
How does that affect you as a photographer? Working, you're in the same industry, in the same, I guess, area as these. I'm just talking about Toronto overall. I know there's a lot of photographers here. How does that affect you, being, I guess, in the same area and knowing that there are these other, I guess, predators? I hope that's the right word.
mm. No, that
Um,
is definitely the right word. Yeah, for sure. It's I guess like for sure it's definitely cringy because it's like these guys are ruining it for everyone else who are just trying to create a better experience for everyone, you know. Um, yeah, like it's definitely hard because especially being like a male photographer, it's kind of just like if someone or if especially a female photographer, sorry, if a female model goes into the studio and is uncomfortable just because it's a male because of her last experience, like that makes my heart break, honestly. So like the best I can do is make that person feel comfortable, make sure that they're reassured that I'm not one of these predators, to reassure them that I am someone who would like to create a safe space for everybody in the studio with me. And I feel like that's something that should be carried on with every photographer, either in studio or on location or wherever they are. Really, like these ethics, these general human ethics, should be carried throughout whatever wherever they are. And by they, like I'm including myself as well.
like a little
Yeah.
moral code that every, I guess, photographer or creative should follow in order to make their model feel comfortable.
Hmm.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
been there. I have done photography in the past, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, it's more like we paint models, we, sketch models, and it's still in the studio setting, but it's like, okay, you just gotta like work in a way that you're just working and that's that. I guess not objectify them, look at them as a human, but also keep a safe distance, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Like figure drawing. That's the word,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah, I've done that actually for graphic design, and it was definitely a new experience because, yeah, like I said, like I don't really do like, boudoir type photos, so like having someone who's like like that in front of you is kind of jarring. Yeah, there is a professional aspect to it. Like there is a respect to that model who is there, who is investing their time to be there so that you can draw, or for I guess my case, like photograph, right? So if there is no mutual understanding and if there's no mutual respect, I think like that's definitely a huge red flag for any photographer or creative, you know. Yeah, like that's just like general business ethics, you know. Like I wouldn't walk into the office and like I guess treat like my female coworkers in a way where they feel uncomfortable, you know. And like
Mhm.
it's no different in like the photography workplace. the graphic design workplace, whatever creative you're doing. Like it's like there is, yeah, like you said. I like how you said it. Like there's a code of conduct that should be carried around with every creative, pretty much.
I mean, we work with sensitive topics, sensitive issues. Um, I guess all creatives do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, do you have a topic, I guess, that you focus on in your work? Like exploring your work?
Like in like within the kind of scope of what we're talking about right now. Like
Yeah. I feel like we challenge society with the things we question about society. That's my entire practice is based on questioning the way we live, the contemporary world. And it's just nonconformist. I know that. And it completely challenges our entire system. But I want to challenge the system. As creatives, we tend to challenge society, challenge the world we live in, and we work with like sensitive topics. I don't know, anything and everything that we work. I feel like is challenging society. From, I guess you're working with female models, but then a female model with say, male gaze, that type of thing.
right.
You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I conquer, I guess, politics in my work. We'll get into that later, but it's like deeper politics, capitalism. So,
Okay.
is there anything that you, I guess, focus on in your work?
Oh, okay. I see. I see. I guess in my work personally, I've been working a lot with culture, seeing different cultures, interacting with different cultures, um, intersecting with different cultures, basically like merging, and for lack of better words, vibing with other
Mm-hmm.
cultures and kind of just seeing what relates in our cultures and like creating a sense of community within people. I think that's what I've been doing a lot in my work or in my field. Um, and like I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to be like sketched on a piece of paper or sketched on a canvas or painted on a canvas or like displayed in an art gallery just um, to have that in your work. But rather,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like with every artist, I believe that it is like there is a lifestyle around that artist and how they create. I guess you could say like why they create as well comes into I guess how they face those certain challenges of culture or politics or whatever it might be. I'm sorry, does that make sense?
Um, I think so. Yeah.
I think I rambled on a bit. Yeah.
Do you have advice for fellow photographers?
I guess we can talk about like people who are starting up and then people who I guess closer to the level that I'm on. Not trying to boast or whatever, but yeah. I guess like for people starting up, I would say keep shooting, keep practicing your art, keep adjusting those color temperatures or keep practicing really because that practice will bring you a long way. And that's what gives you confidence as an artist in your work is to know that you can look at someone else's image and be like, yeah, I can create the exact same thing. Or not in like a boastful way, but it's kind of like I know how that artist created that and I can do something similar. Um and that's often I guess how clients work. Like there would be a mood board and then it's like, hey, can you create something like this? And it's like, yeah, like I know how they created that and I can make that. So I guess like, yeah, definitely for people starting out, keep practicing. Um, if it's not exactly for commercial purposes in the future, like if you just want to keep practicing as a photographer in general and it's something you enjoy, that's okay too. Because I know that some people would drive one to I guess pursue a job in that just because they like doing it. But I think it's okay to just enjoy something. Yeah. And I guess for the more experienced photographer, I would say, yeah, I say the same thing honestly. Just keep going. Um, keep creating concepts, keep collaborating with people, creating environments where you enjoy being in, and creating environments where others can enjoy being in as well. And I feel like having these spaces where there's an empathetic point of view towards other creatives, I feel like that is where people can really grow as artists. That's where ideas are made, that's where ideas are even shut down. And that can actually help someone. Yeah, like I think definitely, yeah, for the inexperienced or experienced photographer, I'd say find a community who can support you, encourage you, and create with you, or give you advice on how to create. Because I think that is what will help you drive, will help drive you forward in your art.
I agree. As an artist, we need a community to, push us forward and help us with our ideas and refine them a bit more farther. I mean, you might have a concept that's, I guess, good at the moment, but then you can have a graphic designer come in, a photographer come in, a model come in, a professional artist come in and be like, okay, this is good, but work on this and this and this. And next thing you know, your little idea is now something big, with like a bigger meaning than what you started with. Just because you
Exactly.
got people with more experience involved, people with more other, I guess, a different mindset, different viewpoint involved,
Mm-hmm.
and that can enhance. I think that's the right word. Enhance your simple idea and make it something a bit more and more connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I guess like adding to the whole topic of critique, I think it's important to be able to accept critique as well. Um, because, or not just being able to accept critique, but to disassociate yourself from your art. I think that is something that I learned second year of graphic design, and it has helped me so freaking much. Like, and I feel like with artists, like it's really hard sometimes to disassociate from our art because it's like it's my baby. Like this is something I created, you know. Like
Yeah.
it's like we're inseparable. But then, like right in reality, it's like all right. Like in the end, this is an art piece, and I am my own person. And I feel like that's something right. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's something that artists need to, I guess, constantly remember. And I feel like clients help with that a lot because it's like in front of them they see an art piece. They don't or like they see like a design.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they don't see like oh yeah this is your like this is your art piece. Like no they see work in front of them in the end right like it's subjective right
Yeah.
but so like I guess like in a way like we need to I guess think of our art in that same similar light. But at the same time, like it does mean a lot to you, especially if like it's like for example, like the kind of photography pieces that I'm working on, which focus on like something which means a lot to me, which is um like second gen Filipinos, and there's a word for it, but like the being able to like having that struggle with um being a second gen Filipino. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, like if it's something, even if it's something that means a lot to you, it might not be portrayed in a way where you want to be just yet. And yeah, like definitely what you're saying is like having that community, you're able to have people who can tell you how to bring it to where you need it to be. And I think that that is amazing. Like, and that's something that the art community has that I guess can be applied to other areas of the workforce if need be.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's something that the creative community has that other communities lack. I feel like other
Mm,
areas, other workplaces are more, I guess, competitive in a way. Um, the invisible, I call it the invisible corporate ladder because
mm,
it exists, but it doesn't exist. But like you can
right.
never
Yeah.
fully get up there, but like you're always running to get there, but you don't know how to get there. Anyways, The creative
Mm-hmm.
community, we're more like we're on the same mission without knowing we're on the same mission. So no one's competing. It's just like you good at this thing, I'm good at this thing. I'll help you get better at this thing. You know what I mean? We're all kind of working together to get to the same place. And the place it could be different for everyone. It's not really the same place. For some people, art is more like a hobby, and others it's a professional thing. For others, it's both. For me, it's both. Like, I will paint in my free time and as a work thing because I enjoy it thoroughly. Um, but as a creative community, we tend to push each other forward in a positive way. We're not competing for the next best spot. We're like we're pushing each other forward in like to grow and learn together. Like if you go there, I'm coming with you, that type of thing. Or if I get to this place, if I get to show somewhere, I'll introduce you to this thing, so you get to show that place too. So we're all kind of growing together and working together to get to, I guess, a common goal of
Mm-hmm.
growth and learning.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But I guess like there is also um something to touch on, which is like where to stop with critique. Because I guess like although it is a community where we all are trying to achieve something similar and trying to move forward in general with art, and we're trying to support the industry at the same time, like I do feel a struggle when I'm critiquing my classmates' art in graphic design, for example, and like how much should I help them because I know I'm competing with that person. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you are competing, you're also not competing. You are your own person. If you think about it, and if you detach yourself almost, think 5 years from now, that classmate won't be really in your life. If they are,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be working as colleagues, as coworkers, or maybe in the same company. So you'll almost be working together, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
at least in people I'm to school with, we're still working. We send each other links like, "Hey, there's this show here. I think you'd be great for it. You apply or like we model for each other, things like that. Like just we help each
Mm.
other. We're not competing. We know that we both know where we want to be, even if they're separate goals. Just kind of helping each other get to those goals selflessly.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, for sure. No, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you in the end because like it's like we're not like even though if we like because for example graphic design, it's a very competitive field because there are so many graphic designers out there, but at the same time there are different specialties as well. Like different people are focusing on illustration, some focusing on branding, which is what I'm doing. Some focus on typography even. Like there's so many different sections of wood and craft that someone can focus on. So in the end, like it's more of what you're good at and like knowing that and realizing what you're good at and then just continuing to practice that. And I think that I guess will is what sets you apart as an artist is knowing what you're good at and being good at it.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing your strengths and weaknesses only enhances you. Once you know your weaknesses, you can work towards, bettering those. Once you know your strengths, you can work with people who can make those strengths even better, or like that can work with you, and I guess work on a piece that you can put all these strengths into. That makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Like knowing your strengths, knowing other people's strengths, and just being able to bring it together and create great products out of it.
Giving anything more to add?
Like considering that we did talk a lot heavily about um, like being safe in the photography industry, I guess like what I'd like to say to people modeling would be just to stay safe, know who you're working with, know making sure that the person that you're working with is respectful, can respect not only your morals or your privacy or your space, but also your time. And I feel like there are some models that I've seen in the past where they don't really respect time.
Mhm.
And like they would come, or even like clients sometimes, where like they come like a whole hour late. I'm just like standing there, not really complaining, but it's kind of just like, come on, like you're an hour late. Like I have studio space. Like this is, I guess, like to put it bluntly, like this is unacceptable, you know. So I guess like just be considerate of your photographer if you're modeling, um, or just in general, like as a person, like just be considerate of everyone's time. Um, be considerate of everyone's space, spaces that you're in. Continue to create those good environments where creative ideas can sprout and grow and flourish. And yeah, like I guess like know who you are as an artist and grow in that.
That's really good advice. All right. Thank you, Jeremy, for coming
All
and
right, thank you
being a
for
part
having
of.
me.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of Double Exposure.